Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking all of the helmets, hats, and headwear in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. Now, a lot of these have secret effects which I'll be breaking down in this video and do things that you might not expect them to, and on top of this I'll also be showcasing the appearances because some of them just look funny. And first up is the Hat of Fire Acuity here. This is a very powerful hat, so you can get this in Act 2 from the Strange Ox. What it does is when you deal fire damage, you gain Arcane Acuity for 2 turns, which gives you a +2 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls, meaning you're much more likely to land your spells. A +1 is every time you increase a stat by 2, so that's actually quite a bit. The beautiful thing about this is it actually works very well with Scorching Ray. So if you're playing as a Draconic Sorcerer, you can use Scorching Ray on your first action and do a quicken spell and do something like Hold Person and get a +10 to your spell save DC. This is honestly one of the best hats in the game, extremely underrated, and I highly recommend using it. This can take your spell save DC, if you got like a 18 spell save DC, up to 28, which is very hard for enemies to resist, so that's extremely useful. And it's a massive boost to your spell attack, so if you want to do another Scorching Ray on, let's say, a Fire Draconic Sorcerer who adds their Charisma modifier, you're not going to be missing and you're going to be hitting really hard. Also, depending on the hairstyle you use, it will give you a different hairstyle if you wanted to show it, but overall, this is one of the best items in the game. I may even just say it's an S tier item. Being able to give a +10 to your spell save DC by spell casting is huge. The Helmet of Arcane Acuity is another really good one that's extremely popular for melee attacks that also do spell casting, but for a pure spellcaster, this is possibly one of the best helmets, even if you're not focused on fire, because you can just do a simple Scorching Ray to get a huge boost to your overall spell casting. Next, in a similar vein, is the Hat of the Storm Scion's Power. This is another hat that gives you a really nice ability to get the Arcane Acuity, but it's when you deal thunder damage. So this is a bit different because you can't spam things like Scorching Ray. But another thing about this is you can use this hat and then also take the Drake Throat Glaive here and use the Draconic Elemental Weapon and apply thunder damage to your attacks, and then that'll give you the Arcane Acuity there. Also, it works well if you're any type of melee kind of spellcaster hybrid. Not as great as the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, but it's still pretty useful. Also not as good as the Helmet of Fire Acuity, but it's at the end of the day a good spell or a good helmet. Another unfortunate thing with the Hat of the Storm Scion's Power is that if you use Thunderwave on multiple targets, you only get 2 to your spell save DC. And same thing with Shatter or any other thunder spells, you can only apply it once. But overall, not a bad hat. I just think the Hat of Fire Acuity and the Helmet of Arcane Acuity are much better. This is a good one though if you want to go thunder casting. I might even just say it's A tier, I guess, if you want to go full thunder. Thunder's not a damage type that gets buffed up quite a bit, so this could be a good one. Also B tier, somewhere around there. Your thunder waves are more likely to push people off the ledges, which is very good. Now this one's not quite as cool as an effect, but it's cold. The Coldbrim Hat. This gives you Encrusted with Frost when you do any type of condition on the target. So things like ability drain if you're in a Lithid, or applying another type of condition like Chilled will apply the Encrusted with Frost. And Encrusted with Frost, when there's 7 turns or more of it, the target must do a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or become frozen. And also on top of that, you can apply water to the target and it'll freeze them too if they are chilled. So you can combine this with a few different things on cold sorcerers. But of all the cold damage items in the game, the Snowburst Ring is better, the Morning Frost is better. This is nice to imply Encrusted with Frost, but the status itself is just okay. And if you want to go all in on a cold build, you'd like to be using Marka Heshker the staff, and then possibly the Morning Frost in your offhand. And then with that, you'd be able to apply Chilled, and the Frost of the Dark Winter from Marka Heshker can also apply 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost. So it makes it a lot redundant, I would say. This hat is not bad. I would have to say, though, maybe B tier. You can find this in Moonrise Towers or later on at the Sorcerer's Sundries. It's not a bad item, but of all the cold items, as I said, it's one of the weaker ones. And next up is Wapira's Crown here. So when healing another target, you regain 1 to 6 health points. You get this very early on from saving the Grove, so it could be a good, useful item. It does look very druidic, so if you're going to roll a druid or a cleric, it's not a bad helmet early on in the game to have because it'll keep you alive by constantly healing you, and it'll also trigger when you do a lot of your different healing effects. So it can be a decent choice for a healer, but overall, I do think we have better options here. It also doesn't count if you heal yourself. It says heal another, and I trusted it only works if you heal another. So yeah, you can't continually keep healing yourself and getting more healing from it. Not a bad option. I mean, I feel like you're going to get better healing items a little bit later on. You get ones that give you temporary health in Act 1, so it can be good, but yeah, probably somewhere around B tier. Now, the Warp Headband of Intellect. This is a common D&D item. However, it used to give your character 19 intelligence, which is a lot. It now only gives you 17, but that's still enough to be able to prepare. If you take 1 level in Wizard, you can prepare 4 wizard spells. So this makes it great for if you want to, let's say, take a sorcerer and do a single level dip of the wizard. what you can do is give yourself the spell scribing ability to take Conjure Elemental, the Minor Elementals, Globe of Invulnerability, or any other spell that doesn't require you to have a very high intelligence. You could even, if you wanted to, take Odaluk's Freezing Sphere and then work on some other items to get Arcane Acuity, but overall, this is great for wizard dips. It's also great on an Arcane Trickster Rogue if you wanted to play that, or if you're going to play an Eldritch Knight Fighter, which it's possibly the best in slot for an Eldritch Knight Fighter. So it's great for a lot of builds, and I actually think that it just opens up so many different ways to play the game, especially getting it early on. I would have to say that the Helmet of Warped Intellect is hard. The stat-based items, I think, are always really good because they enable you to play the game how you want to play. If you really wanted to learn certain spells that the Sorcerer doesn't get or the Cleric doesn't get, you can just use this item and scribe 4 of them. So yeah, I think it's great, especially for the multi-classing purposes, because you can get some really great powerful combinations. Getting a Sorcerer who's focused on cold damage to be able to get a Water Elemental, which can apply Chilled, that is well worth a single level dip and using that item. So yeah, that's an S tier pick for me. Some people may disagree, but I do think it's actually really good, and it makes the game more fun. It also looks pretty cool too. And next is the Circle of Bones. Now, this is an interesting one. So, allied undead within 6 meters are resistant to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing damage, and it gives you Animate Dead. This is one of the best items you can get in Act 2 from Balthazar. If you want to go Necromancy style, this is the way to do it, because this will keep your summons alive pretty much double the amount of time, because resistance will make them take half damage. So that's really good. If you're an Oathbreaker Paladin, that can be good because you can take over different enemies and make them undead. And yeah, it goes together very well on a lot of different playthroughs. Although Necromancy, I will admit, is not good enough to put this in the S tier. And again, with another thing it doesn't outright tell you. It says undead, but it actually will apply to the Quasids. So if you get Shovel, you can keep them alive longer, or any of the Warlock's pets. Also, if you take the level 11, if you're level 11 Cleric, can take the Planar Ally, the Cambion, also receives that resistance, which is actually crazy. So you can also take Will's weapon here, the Infernal Rapier, which gives you a free Cambion, and paired with this, it'll take half damage. It has about 100 health, so it's a huge tanky ability to give it. Normally your summons are going to be fairly weak, but this can actually enhance them. So yeah, Conjured Imps, Quasids, and Fiends like the Cambion there all get that benefit. Actually pretty crazy in that regard. But yeah, if you're a Necromancer, this is possibly the best in slot. Giving it resistance is really good. I might just say B tier though, because again, Necromancy is not massively impactful. And I do think the Planar Ally Diva or Genie are better than the Cambion, but you do get Will's Rapier pretty easily in the game, and you also get this around the same time. So it could potentially put the Circle of Bones up a little higher. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And next we got the Circlet of Mental Anguish, which is odd. It doesn't have a glowing appearance to it like all the other items here. Just random observation, but it gives you the Psychic Leech. When an enemy fails a Charisma, Intelligence, or Wisdom saving throw against one of your spells or cantrips, you regain 1 to 4 health. That's pretty good, because a lot of the times, if they're not damage spells, it's likely a Wisdom, Charisma, or Intelligence saving throw. So for those that are focused on like playing a Bard, this can be a pretty decent option. Getting a 1 to 4 health points back is pretty good. And yeah, it even applies to cantrips. Although, yeah, 1d4 health is not massive. It's something. This item is found at Mind Flayer Sanctuary. It's an alright one. I'd have to say, yeah, actually, maybe we might put it in the C tier. You get a 1d4 healing pretty easily, which can apply different effects. Yeah, I don't know, B tier. It's an okay helmet, not the best. There's a lot better options here that may weigh it down a little bit more. And next is the Scrabby Pugilist Circlet. Your unarmed and weapon attacks deal additional 2 damage when surrounded by 2 or more foes. Typically, your melee attackers like a fighter, barbarian, monk will have this happen. So this can be a really good helmet just to apply an extra 2 damage, which is actually quite a nice buff. So it's pretty good, especially because again, your melee attackers will likely have 2 or more. Just having 2 foes around, it's very likely of an occurrence, especially on a melee character. This applies to paladins too. Yeah, a lot of people can benefit from this because it applies to both unarmed and weapon attacks. Pretty solid. I'd say it's a B tier. 2 damage is good, but nothing crazy. And next, the Circlet of Blasting. Now this, like they also have different colored gems on each of these items. This just gives you a level 2 Scorching Ray, and you can also get it pretty early on. You can buy it from Blurg. Getting Scorching Ray early on in the game is pretty nice. 3 rays of fire, just as a 66 damage. Nothing crazy though. At the end of the day, it's just a level 2 spell, so once you get later on in the game, you're never even going to think about this, and likely have sold it or let Gale eat it. So yeah, we're going to have to say this is probably a C tier pick. Yeah, level 2 spell is nice, but nothing crazy to use. Now we have the two stealth helmets next. We got the Covert Cowl here. When obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack. This is also an effect that is shared with the Dark Justiciar helmet, so the purple version of that. It's nice because if you're going to go on like a Shadow Blade build, this will give you a +1 of your critical hit, +1 of your critical hit chance, which is like a 5% increase in crits. Very good. Yeah, and also dexterity saving throws +1, which is nice. So this one is pretty solid. I'd put it into the B tier. The other one has a completely different effect though. It gives you the Shrouded in Shadows, which becomes invisible for 2 turns, refreshes on short rest, and it's a concentration. Only 2 turns, but it's good. There's actually a lot of ways you can use this. You also get this pretty early on. The one big downside is both of these are counted as light armor instead of clothing. So if you're going to do something that's like focused on getting additional armor class from your charisma or from your constitution modifier or things like that, monks and barbarians, they won't be able to benefit as much from this because it's light armor. So it does have its limitations. Good on a rogue though. Good if you need a free way to get invisibility. It's actually one of the better helmets to take outside of combat and get that invisibility to steal things or, you know, do things that you'd want to do invisible. So for that, I'd say it's another B tier pick. It's just a light armor. You can use it situationally. That makes it good. But there's better situational items here, which I'll get to. So yeah, trying to judge these between. There's a lot of use cases for these items, so I'm just trying to keep it all balanced. And next is another Gith item here. So this is the Circlet of Psionic Revenge. When you succeed a saving throw, the foe will take a 1d4 psychic damage. Pretty good, because that can also apply if you have like items that stack radiating orbs, if you have different things that apply ability drain. That's a quick, easy way to get that. And then also +1 at intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. That's nice if you're Gith Yankee. Now there's another helmet that we can actually use here, and this is crazy because we use a helmet that changes ourselves into a Gith Yankee and then get the benefits. We can just swap this back and keep all the benefits. So pretty cool. But overall, this helmet it's all right. +1 of saving throws is great. The damage on saving throws is also kind of nice. I would have to say this is like a B tier choice. Yeah, there's a lot of helmets that are decent, but there's a lot of really good helmets coming up here. Like next, the Diadem of Arcane Synergy. This is a really good item, and it's great with a lot of the new classes in patch 8. When you inflict a condition, gain Arcane Synergy for 2 turns. What this means is, or 2 rounds, I should say. Arcane Synergy will give you your charisma modifier or your intelligence, whatever your spellcasting modifier to your weapon attacks. So this is great on a paladin that's using Booming Blade, because Booming Blade is a condition, which gives you that intelligence modifier. So it's potentially a +5 on all your weapon attacks for 2 rounds. That's pretty solid, especially if you're doing a Hexadin build, because that's 3 attacks. It's a +15 damage or 16, even 17, because you can get your charisma up to 24. So yeah, it's a lot of damage extra on your attacks. And for something that's just as simple as using Booming Blade, which you're likely going to do anyways, yeah, it's a pretty effective item. There's also a ring that gives you Arcane Synergy. You should have this on any class that's going to be a hybrid. Like, as I mentioned, patch 8 brought the Hexblade Warlock, and it also brought the Blade Singing Wizard. This is perfect on both of those. So this is an item that I'd have to say is an A tier pick. I think it's better than the Hat of Storm Scion's Power. Yeah, it's a good one. So we'll go with that. And next is the Hat of the Sharpcaster. When you roll a 1 or 2 in a damage die for a spell attack, that damage die is re-rolled 1. It also makes you look like a cowboy. Now this is a hat that's had some weird history. So you can get it from the Devil's Fee, you buy it from Terra, but they also added in patch 7 that if you aren't able to buy it from Terra, you can get it from the Sorcerer's Sundries, and you can use telekinesis to get your way up to being able to find the hat. So that's kind of cool. What's also weird about this is it won't apply to Booming Blade. So if you're doing a weapon attack there, spell attack, Booming Blade doesn't count. But if you use Booming Blade and the Ring of Arcane or Elemental Infusion, which gives you a 1d8 of thunder damage on your next attack, it'll apply to that 1d4. Odd that it works that way, but it's kind of a strange item. Rerolling spell attacks, pretty nice though. So you get it late in the game. For where you find it, it's probably a B tier pick. We do get better options like the Hat of Fire Acuity. And next we got the Dark Urge Helmet here. The Gibus of Worshipful Servant. Geez. This gives you haste equal to your charisma modifier, and you can get your charisma modifier up to a +6 if you use this hat. With the Birthright Hat, you can get a +7, but +6, which gives 1.5 meters of movement speed for every charisma modifier you have. That's actually pretty good. You get a lot of movement on that. So it's great on any character can benefit from more movement speed in Baldur's Gate 3 compared to like D&D. The way that the terrain works in Baldur's Gate 3 is a little different. But you also get advantage on concentrating saving throws. So holding your concentration, that's pretty big. Yeah, if you're a spellcaster like a sorcerer or a bard or a warlock or a paladin, this is a really good item for you. And I would could be an S tier pick. I'm just going to put the top of the A tier. The benefits are too much to ignore. Being able to get momentum with your charisma modifier is huge, because that's potentially +6. And then also the advantage on concentrating saving throws is pretty big. So holding your hold person's very useful. Another hat that's similar is the Haste Helmet. This is, you get the other hat late in the game. This hat you get at the very start at literally the village that you go to at the start of the game. It'll give you 3 rounds of haste whenever you start combat. This is good on anybody early in the game. This is actually one of the best items that you can get for Act 1, just because that gives you 4.5 meters of movement speed. On your next turn is 3, and your next turn is 1.5. But you want to end combat quickly. This is a good way to get into position properly. It does have this funny look where it gives you a little hair like that. But overall, this is a great helmet, and one that I'd actually say is probably A tier, just because it's so early that you get it. It's not as good as this helmet here, but you get it a lot earlier, and it can be useful on pretty much anyone for most of the game. So yeah, that's a really useful and underrated item. And also the Birthright Hat. So I mentioned previously that there's a hat that can give you the +7 to your charisma. This is it. Now it does seem a bit misleading because it says charisma +2 up to 22. That is true. What it doesn't tell you is if you use the Mirror of the Lost to get the +2 to your charisma, that'll actually stack on top of that 22. Oddly enough, it works that way, so we'll run with it. It hasn't changed after 8 patches and 38 hot fixes. I don't think that's going to change at any point. So this is actually a really good hat. You can also just buy it from the Sorcerer's Sundries. It's not a hard hat to get, and it's the only way to get your charisma modifier up to a +7. So that in itself is quite useful. I'd actually have to say this is another A tier pick, and possibly high A tier. Yeah, I do think there's better helmets that you can get, especially nearby. But that's the only way you can get your charisma up that high. Things like the Dragonborn, if you're going to play a fire Dragonborn, or not Dragonborn, a fire Draconic Sorcerer, adding your charisma modifier to your Scorch and Raise, that's a +7 on every single Scorching Ray, which is pretty useful. So that is really good. But the only thing is, I would actually rather the Fire Acuity hat for Scorching Ray. So yeah, it's okay. It has its uses. That's why it's not going in the S tier. It's a really fun hat though, and easy to get. And next is the Fistbreaker Helm. This gives you a +1 to spell save DC and +1 to initiative. That's okay. It looks kind of funny. I think this works with like the Cat's Grace outfit. I think that's kind of the bone appearance that it's going for. But yeah, overall, it's not a bad one. +1 to spell save DC is extremely useful in a lot of cases. So I'd have to say it's a B tier pick, kind of higher B tier. There is better items, but yeah, it's pretty basic in its effects. Whereas we got ourselves next, the Cap of Wrath. This, when in combat, and if you start the turn with 50% health or less, they get Wrath for 2 turns, which adds a +2 to their weapon attack damage. That's pretty good. It also looks pretty funny. I guess style points if you like this look. But yeah, there's better items that if you start below 50% health, like I don't think that Wrath really matters too much. It's good on a Barbarian, I guess. That'd be the extent of it. And I actually might just say this is C tier. I feel like it is kind of situational because getting yourself low in health points, not ideal. And the benefit of Wrath for 2 turns is not also that great. It's something, I guess, but not super useful like some of the other items here. And next we got the Circlet of Hunting. Now this is a good one. A 1d4 bonus to attack rolls against creatures that are marked with Hunter's Mark, True Strike, Fairy Fire, and Guiding Bolt, which is pretty easy because there's actually a lot of ways you can get this, especially if you're doing a Ranger playthrough. So the Ranger gets Hunting Mark. There's also the Gaunter Mail, which will apply Guiding Bolt, and then there's the Hellrider Longbow, which applies Fairy Fire. And the best benefit of that is you can use an arrow of many targets on those bows to apply to multiple targets. True Strike, we don't talk about True Strike, don't use True Strike. Hunter's Mark is a lot better. It gets additional 1d6 of damage, and being able to hit your shots with that extra damage is nice. This is actually not a bad item, and you get it in Act 2 Moonrise Tower, so that's not too bad. It also works with Hex, though it doesn't say Hex, it works with Hex. Yeah, I guess with the tidbit of it working on Hex, it actually does make this extremely useful because, yeah, if you're a Warlock, or even the Hexblade Warlocks gets Hunter's Mark, a lot of these are things that you can easily apply, and getting that 1d4 bonus to attack rolls is pretty good. That's much more likely you're going to land your shots. So yeah, this one's actually one that I'd have to say is an A tier pick. I'm going to put it right there, right behind the Dark Urge hat. Pretty effective, and if you're going to go Warlock, Eldritch Blast, Hex, use this. It'll be very useful. You can also, if you wanted to, since Eldritch Blast scales a little differently, if you're a Paladin, apply Hex as your bonus action, use your Eldritch Blast that scales off your character level, and then you're going to get a lot of extra bonuses to your attack rolls and the extra damage. Now, here's an item that actually doesn't work as good as you want it to work. So the Heldusk Helmet looks like that, yeah. But You can see, it says you can see in magical and ordinary darkness up to 12 meters. You cannot be blinded. This is a big fat lie. Who came up with this? So let's use our magical darkness. Whoop woo. We'll throw it up. And you're supposed to not get blinded, but it's having a hard time illustrating this. But basically, you see here, my character can't actually shoot from the darkness while wearing this. It shows that you're not blinded per se. Like if anyone else went into here, they're blinded. But it doesn't actually give, the way it works is weird. It doesn't actually give you the cone of vision in darkness. It gives you the ability to not get blinded, but it doesn't really do much, because if you're going to cast anything, you have to walk out of the darkness to be able to cast it. So it's a bit weird in how it works. And again, you can only just pop an arrow of darkness to test this out. So we go there, boom, we're inside our darkness, which you normally, if you got Devil Sight, can attack from. But if we want to do anything, we got to walk out of it to be able to do our attacks. So yeah, that is something that is a little bit unfortunate. Overall, the helmet is still really good though. I just want to nitpick a little point on there. It says you can see in magical and ordinary darks up to 12 meters. As of patch 8, no, unfortunately it can't. There is a better helmet for this, but you get a +2 bonus to saving throws against spells, which is really good to have. Can't be critically hit, so this is sometimes the only way you can get hit. And you get the Immolating Glaze here, which is a 2d8 and frightens a target for 3 turns. So overall, yes, this helmet is still good. Just don't use it if you're expecting to go around in magical darkness, because for some reason it doesn't truly work the way that it should work. But you won't get blinded, so I guess you don't get the disadvantage on attack rolls. If you're going against a warlock, that's good in a sense, I guess. It's still a good helmet. But yeah, it could not being able to get critically hit, +2 to spell save DC. It's one of the best helmets in the game. You get it at the very end of the game though, so I would normally put it in the S tier, but I think it could be an S tier item if someone thinks it is. I agree. But you get it so late and it lies, so we're gonna bump it down a little bit. Next is one of the weirdest, Hat of the Uninhibited Kushigo. It's not as good as the other Uninhibited Kushigo items. You get Lay Bare Their Weakness. After dealing a damage with an unarmed attack, the wearer gets a +1 bonus to their spell save DC until the end of their turn. Whoop-de-doo. There are 4 elements, monk, is not great. And a +1 bonus to spell save DC when there's other items that'll give you even a +2 to spell save DC. Yeah, no, this is actually one of the worst helmets in the game, and it makes your character bald. So yeah, that's something that happens with it. Yeah, +1 to spell save DC is pretty garbage, so we're not going to put that very high. When we have hats like the Pyroquickness Hat, this one's crazy. So the Pyroquickness Hat, when you deal fire damage with a leveled spell, you burn yourself and get an additional bonus action this round. Why is this crazy? Well, you can go with we go in our turn-based mode here, you go with our Quicken spell, which gives us a bonus action spell. This actually bugs it out. You don't want to do it this way. What you want to do is then first start with this. I'm sorry, Will. We're going to cast this. Boom, boom, boom. We get ourselves bonus action numero 2, which you can then go ahead with another spell if you want to throw a firebolt, for example, which keeps your extra bonus action. And then you can go again with an extra spell. So that's 3 spells per turn if you're a sorcerer. That is crazy. Again, sorry, Will. But you burn yourself, so that gives you a fire infusement if you got an item there, but burning, so you take 1d4 fire per turn. That'll be halved if you're like Karlach, or if you're any tiefling, if you have fire resistance through some other subclass like the ranger. It's really good. The Pyroquickness, that extra bonus action, there's not many ways to get bonus action in this game. There's the Helmet of Grit, there's the Rogue Thief, and there's the Pyroquickness Hat, which pairs perfectly with the Sorcerer, which I think is one of the strongest spellcaster in Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah, if you want to be a powerful fire caster, as I mentioned, this can be a really good hat for it. I still think the Hat of Fire Acuity is better in ways, but these are both valid, and they have a lot of usefulness in combat. So highly recommend both these for fire casters, or even if you just want to use a Scorching Ray every here and there. And next is Janeth's Hat. This is a good one. It also looks cool. Gives you that cowboy appearance. You got this hanging right off, and you can also dye this. All the hats in the game are dyeable too, so not that I like to ever show my characters wearing hats, but you can make them look unique how you want. But this one, advantage on persuasion and deception checks. This is a good hat to swap to if you got a important dialogue scene coming up, because you get to roll 2 die on your persuasion checks and your deception checks. That's pretty good. I think deception's kind of like the middle ground. Persuasion's the good aligned dialogue, and intimidation is typically evil dialogue. So this is good for a good player. And again, it's one of those hats you swap to. You're not going to use it all the way. I'd have to say it's an A tier pick just because of that. Advantage on those 2 is very important, especially in honor mode when every little thing counts. This can be a good way to get yourself out of some situations. Just be mindful when you're using it. If you know you're getting into a fight, swap it off for something a little bit better. And next we got something that is a little bit better in combat, but the Assassin of Bal Cowl. You can see in the dark up to 3 meters. In addition, you get a +2 to initiative and see invisibility. This is all pretty good stuff, but you also get it very late in the game when see invisibility would have been useful earlier on. +2 to initiative is nice to give yourself the increased movement. It's a 1d4 for initiative in this game, so that +2 is like literally increasing it by half, which is really good. Although alert gives you a +5, one of the best feats in the game. This is nothing special to write home about. I actually think this is a B tier. I might actually put in the C tier just because you get it so late. You know, it's not fair. I might just put in the B tier. You get it late in the game though, and for that point, you're already gonna have better items. See in the dark of 3 meters is not even really that good because it's not magical darkness either. But next we got the Horns of the Berserker. This looks awesome. It's pretty metal. And also with this, you get a +2 to attack rolls when attacking creatures that have already taken damage. So a lot of them. Unarmed and melee attacks will deal an additional 2 damage as long as you don't have full health. If you don't deal any damage this turn, you take 1d4. So this gives you +2 damage, +2 attack rolls if you're going hard at the offense. This is a pretty good item. I think it's nice. Nothing crazy broken. I actually might say A tier, maybe B tier. We'll throw it in the B tier. Somewhere mid B tier. It's a good one. But we got something a little bit better next with the this one here is the Mask of Soul Perception. This one feels kind of funny. It looks almost like if you dye it red, it's kind of like a Deadpool mask. It's glowing. It's similar to the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation as well, and the Gloves of Soul Catching. So these all go together. Mask of Soul Perception, +2 to attack rolls, initiative, and perception checks. Yeah, that's why the ball is. You know what? I'm gonna put the ball helmet down into the C tier because this exists and does what it does better. +2 to attack rolls, +2 to initiative, and perception checks. So yeah, this is actually just a better version of that. So you can also get it pretty much early in Act 3 just by rushing to grab it, and it's a good one to grab. So yeah, this is a A tier pick, I'd say. Just makes the other hats look a little bit worse. I might actually put it somewhere around the high A tier. It's good on really a lot of characters. +2 to initiative and attack rolls benefits any melee attacker, and getting them to go first is also really nice. Next, we got something that's a little bit interesting. There's 2 helmets that look this way, and they're both cracked. Like, they're both really good. They also look awesome. This is the coolest looking hat in the game. What the heck? That's besides the point. Below 50% health points, you get an additional bonus action. This is also really weird in how it works because if you go below 50 and then above 50, then below 50 again, another bonus action. However, any times you can do it, you get an extra bonus action. So that's really good on like a barbarian, especially a throw Zerker, because that's extra throws. If you can find a way to throw Nyrolda and hurt yourself and then get a heal in, you can get an extra bonus action. So strategy. This is one of the helmets that, again, I don't use it in my builds because I feel like it is a bit cheap. Yeah, it's just a really good item overall. So additional bonus action, really nice. +1 dexterity saving throw. It is light armor too, so you can't really abuse this if you're, let's say, a draconic sorcerer and you don't want to wear armor. This is counting as armor. Same as the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, but everyone can benefit from a bonus action, really. This is I think the Helmet of Grid is an S tier pick. Really useful. I'm gonna throw it right there. Yeah, that's a really good one right there. And next is another really good helmet with the Hood of the Weave. So with this, it looks pretty cool. It gives you the arcane diadems as your helmet, but also it's a robe too. +2 bonus to spell save DCs, +2 bonus to spell attack rolls. You can get this from the Sorcerer's Sundries. It is a little bit difficult to get, but it's one of the best in slot for casters. It's better than the Birthright Hat too. So I said the Birthright Hat was somewhere around the A tier here. This one's a little bit better because the Birthright Hat will give a +1 to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. This gives a +2. That 2 is bigger than 1. So the math checks out. I think this is an S tier pick because it works. Any spellcaster can benefit from this. I think the Helmet of Fire Acuity is better. So that's why we'll leave it pretty low here, because the Fire Acuity can give you a +10 to spell save DC easily with a single spell, whereas this it doesn't require anything casting, but it's S tier, I'd say. Great on a spellcaster. And overall, just a really good helmet. And next is a Dark Justiciar Helm, the weak one. +1 to Constitution saving throws and +1 to saving throws when I'm scared. It's okay, but again, better items easily. I'm just going to toss that into the D tier because we have a much better item here next with the Helmet of Arcane Acuity. Now, you've heard me talk about this throughout this list a couple times because it's that helmet. It's so good. Whenever you deal damage with a weapon attack, you gain Arcane Acuity for 2 turns, +1 dexterity saving throw. This is a little misleading in how good it really is because it doesn't actually just trigger per attack. if you do an attack like a arrow of many targets, this isn't going to properly apply, but it'll bounce around, and every single target that it hits gives you 2 Arcane Acuity. So if you're able to hit 5 targets, boom, max Arcane Acuity. And you can also pair this with a lot of other things. Even crazier, if you use Booming Blade or Smite, it counts as 1 attack, and then your Smite or Booming Blade counts as 2 attacks, so that's 4 stacks right there. Yeah, this is the best in slot for a lot of multi-classes. I really like it on the Blazing Wizard, the Hexblade Warlock, Paladins, anything that needs a cast, like a Bard. A Bard works really well with this, because you can use an arrow of many targets, hit multiple targets, especially if you're using the Titan String Bow and extra damage. Yeah, you're pretty crazy with this one. It's better than the Helmet of Fire Acuity, I would say, for a lot of... Unless you're a full spellcaster, the Fire Acuity is better. This one just is crazy because it can stack multiple times for an arrow of many targets, getting yourself +10 to spell save DC with 1 single attack. I'd actually say this is one of the best helmets in the game. And there's a reason that if you use any mods that change the rarity of loot, this one always gets jacked up quite a bit, because it is that helmet. It's so good. The +1 to dexterity saving throws is an afterthought with how good battle acuity is. As I mentioned, you can use the Thunder Acuity hat and use the Drake Throw Glaive item here to give yourself thunder on your attacks. But this just works a lot better because you can do it on arrow many targets. You can kind of do both of them similar, but arrow many targets doesn't require as much setup on this. It's a crazy useful item. Although it does require you to use light armor, so that's something to keep in mind. It's honestly one of the best helmets in the game for many reasons. One of the strongest builds in the game is to go 10 levels of the Bard, 2 levels of Paladin. You get Command, you get Hold Person, you get magical secrets from the Bard. You can do a lot with that build. It's extremely powerful. And paired with the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, you can do your melee attacks, get yourself the bonus action, enchantment, or illusion spells, and then land them with a +10 to spell save DC. That's one of the best builds in the game, and it can solo the game easily. So yeah, this is high S tier easily. And next, this helmet kind of sucks, the Helmet of Smiting. So this helmet here, it looks cool. I give it that. It's got that cool feather on top, but the problem is it's not great. When you apply a condition with one of your smite spells, you gain temporary health points equal to your charisma modifier. What it doesn't say is it only lasts for 2 turns. What it also doesn't say is this doesn't work on Thunderous Smite, which does have a condition of pushing target back. So yeah, you don't actually apply this often. You do get it early in the game, but it's pretty garbage in all honesty. I'd actually have to say this is another D tier pick. There's better options out there. Next is the Holy Lance Helm though, and this one's actually pretty good on a Radiating Orb build. The reason being, when a creature misses you in an attack roll, they must make a dexterity saving throw or take 1 to 4 radiant damage. The Luminous Armor can apply Radiating Orbs on radiant damage, and the Luminous Gloves can also do that. And also, if you get the Coruscation Ring, you can also do that. So this will all stack together to give your... So basically, whenever an attacker gets a -10 to their attack rolls, they aren't hitting you often. So this will continually keep applying the Radiating Orbs. It's the best in slot for a light cleric. Yeah, it's a really good item. I'd have to say this one is a... I've actually put it in the... It's high, it's A tier and maybe top of the B tier. For light clerics, it's the best in slot, but for everyone else, it's an okay item. I might just throw in the B tier for that reason there. And next we got the flawed Heldusk Helmet. +2 bonus to saving throws against spells, +1 to constitution saving throws. That's not bad. It's also got another cool appearance there. Not bad overall. Flawed Heldusk, it's okay. Medium armor too, so that's something to keep in mind. +2 to saving throws. I think anyone can really benefit from that. I might put it just into the B tier. Not a bad helmet overall, but not anything to write home about. And next we got Saravox Helmet. So Saravox Horned Helm. You gain dark vision up to 3 meters or 15 if you already have it, and the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1 and can stack, +1 to constitution saving throws, and you cannot be frightened or hit with any emotion altering effects. Now, this is it's in the contest for the coolest looking helmet in the game. What the heck? You're inside of this skull, and that looks just really cool. The only thing is, it's an okay item. I feel like the critical hit chance is the best thing that it gives you, and this is also nice because you don't have to get any extra bonuses like being obscured or anything. It gives you dark vision to 3 meters, which is okay to have. Can't be frightened is also quite good. Yeah, you get it late in the game. Otherwise, it'd be, if you got it earlier, obviously that'd be really good. But we're just gonna say it's probably around the A tier as well, just because it's late game and it's a crit fishing build item. But that's the biggest benefit I would say to it compared to some other items that we have. It's not as good as them. Like next, we got the Dark Justiciar Helmet, which is possibly one of the funniest looking helmets in the game. I'm sorry, Shar, but your style is just not there. The thing is, it gives you a +1 bonus to saving throws against spells, which is pretty nice. Increase critical hit chance while obscured, and a +1 to constitution saving throws. So it's okay. I think Saravok's helmet's better. This one you do get earlier. Yeah, this is probably like a B tier item. It's an alright one, but if you're going to be obscured, this is a good one because they'll give you a bonus to spell saves and constitution saving throws. But there's other ways to get critical hit, increasing chances without having to have yourself in a shadow. Next is one of the coolest items. This is a very particular use case. This has got one of the coolest appearances. It's got this eye on it. I don't know how this will give you bonuses to charisma or to your persuasion checks, but it does. Maybe the eye looks into their soul. So if you're a wizard, let's say you're playing the new Blade Singing Wizard as your new origin character, this is great for the face of the party because it'll give you your bonus to your persuasion checks equal to your intelligence modifier. That's really the only way that this is useful. It is one of the coolest looking appearances in the game though. It's another D tier pick, but it looks cool. Next up is the only legendary helmet that we have here, and it looks pretty interesting. Hard to imagine that a certain Mind Flayer used to use this helmet, but the Helm of Balduran heals you for 2 for the start of your turn. This pairs well with things like the Reviving Hands, which will give you Blade Ward. There's a ring, the Whispering Promise, which will give you Bless whenever you get hit with a heal. So this gives you a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. Having both those on, because it counts as healing, and you're going to heal yourself every turn. +1 to armor class, huge. +1 to saving throws, also nice. Can't be stunned. Actually pretty good because there's some points in Act 3 where getting stunned, it can end your honor mode runs. And you can't be critically hit. That's also good because it reduces one of the ways that you can possibly get hit. For being the legendary helmet of the game, this is honestly a good choice. It's legendary, it's a gimme, it's obviously going to be good. It's got 4 benefits and they're all good. Even if it just had Balduran's favor for the +1 armor class, it would be a good helmet. But the fact that it heals you, the 2 health points isn't really much to write home about, but it's the fact that it works on a lot of your gear. Again, Whispering Promise and the Reviving Hands. And there's others. Anything that benefits from you healing, you're going to get a benefit from it. So I could talk all day about how good this is. You guys know it's an awesome choice. I might even say maybe better than the Pyroquickness Hat, but not as good as the Fire Acuity Hat. So yeah, Arcane Acuity is just so good. Next, we got the Bonespike Helmet. This is another one that looks cool. We got a lot of bone helmets in this game. Kind of funny. This one also can pair with the Vesta Soul Rejuvenation because it's got that glowing piece there. What this does, when you rage, hostile creatures must make a wisdom saving throw or take 2 to 8 psychic damage and take half on a save, +2 to intimidation. But the menacing attack is its biggest benefit. What's crazy about this menacing attack is it can possibly frighten a creature. They get disadvantage on ability checks, attack rolls, and cannot move. That's pretty good. Frighten is nice, but this is per turn. That's why it's so good. This isn't per short rest. This isn't per long rest. It's every single turn. So you can basically make yourself a Battle Master fighter with this helmet. It's, as I mentioned, there's other helmets for barbarians, but this is, I would say, the best barbarian helmet. This is one I'm going to put up into the high A tier. It's really good. Free menacing attack every turn. Lovely. And next is one that I have hidden somewhere because I don't know where my Legendary Edition is. Now, the Legendary Edition helmet actually doesn't do massive things outside. Well, I guess it does actually inside combat. It gives you Shapeshift. Normally that's an okay spell, but where it's really beneficial, there's a lot of items that benefit you if you're playing as a Githyanki. So what you can do is teleport or change yourself over into a Githyanki here so you can pop this. And what's cool about this is it actually will work a little bit weird. They upgraded it, so you can see there we now have the Githyanki face on there. We're the Gith. But what you can do, so you can apply this. So basically, apply your disguise, take off the helmet, and then what we're going to do is you're just going to long rest. And then your disguise gets removed because the helmet's gone, but you can still use all the benefits from it. So this is where it gets pretty crazy because there's a great sword in the game that benefits you a lot if you're a Gith, and you can get it in Act 1 if you're using a cheese. So you can literally become a very unstoppable monster without even having to play as a Gith. And on top of all of that, it's a item that you get just for being the getting the deluxe edition. The deluxe edition is highly worth it too. So yeah, this helmet, I might just throw it up in the S tier just because it is technically one of the best helmets because it provides so many more benefits without you having to use it. Just alone giving yourself a Gith is being a Gith really good. So yeah, I don't love playing as Githyanki, so this is a good way to get all those benefits of it. Well, just playing as your character that you want to play as. Really good. Next we got the Shapeshifter Hat. So similar name, but when it gives you a +1 in nature and it gives you a +1 to your wild shape charges. This additional charge restored upon taking a long rest. What it doesn't actually tell you about this, besides taking away all your hair, is that it actually will stack again and give it to another character. So if you would, not that you'd ever really run multiple druids unless you want Halsin and Jahara to be in your party and yourself maybe as a druid. And what you can do with that is then give yourself the extra charge, go into your wild shape, give it to someone else, give them the charge, go give it to someone else, you know, pass it around. that in itself is one of the best items for a druid. Yeah, maybe like A tier to B tier. I mean, just say top. We'll put into the. We'll say yeah. If druids are good, we'll say somewhere around there. And next is the Helmet of Autonomy. Autonomy. I was struggling there. Proficiency in wisdom saving throws. Wisdom saving throws are some of the most brutal ones, so getting like a plus 40 or wisdom saves, pretty good. Not getting hit with hold person or commands, well worth it, but this helmet is just okay at best. I'd have to say better options out there. Somewhere around the C tier. Next, we're getting into actually one of the better helmets in the game, and it's actually underrated with the Steelwatcher Helmet. And the Steelwatcher Helmet is weird because it overperforms. It also looks cool. Like, look at that. Yeah, this is one of the most stylish hats in the game. It gives you advantage on Constitution saving throw checks, which is great for holding your concentration. But it says the wearer can see in the dark up to 12 meters and cannot be blinded. It doesn't say anything about magical blindness. However, it still works in magical darkness. So you can see here, we're not forced to leave this zone to be able to do our attacks. So that is actually pretty crazy, making this basically a better version of what we wanted to accomplish with the helmet that gives the Heldusk Helmet, which says you get the magical darkness when you actually don't. This doesn't say you get magical darkness, and you do. This is one of the few rings. There's the Eversight ring. There's the Shar Spear of the Evening, which is one of my favorite weapons in the game, which makes it so you can. This gives you magical darkness vision, and you can cast darkness every turn for free, and you get a weapon attack that creates darkness. If you like darkness, this is the best weapon for it. But there's also the Eversight ring and this helmet. And then if you want to get it from a class, there's the Hexblade, or I guess any warlock with the Devil's Sight you can get at level 2. And then also the Shadow Magic Sorcerer at level 3 gets the Eyes of the Dark. However, for them to get darkness, they have to cast their own version of darkness, whereas this just gives it to you. This is great if you have a fighter on your team that wants to camp out in darkness as well. You can get a full darkness team, which breaks the enemy's AI. They have to do throwing attacks. They won't do melee or spell attacks at you. So yeah, you can really bust the game by going full darkness. This makes it a really useful helmet. I'd actually have to say this is better than the Heldusk Helmet because it actually does what the Heldusk Helmet should do, but better. So yeah. And finally, the only heavy armor helmet in the game with the Grymskul. So this will give you critical hits cannot hit you, which the Baldur Giant Slayer does, or the Balduran Helmet does. Resistance of fire damage, which is nice. And you get Hunter's Mark, which again is a really nice cantrip or spell to get. The thing is, you have to be able to wear heavy armor. It also kind of looks cool. It's a bit cracked, you get your face sticking out of it. Can't be critically hit, can't resistance to fire damage. This is good for a fighter. Anyone that can wear heavy armor. This is one of the few heavy armor items in the game, not like a armor set. Yeah, this item's pretty good, but limitations, and you also get an Act 1, so that makes it pretty solid as well. I might actually say, for being one of the few heavy helmets, that's one of the few heavy items in the game, it's pretty good. We'll say somewhere around here. So there we have it. We went through all the helmets in Baldur's Gate 3. There's quite a few of them, and that's what we ended up settling off with. So I got the timestamps there if you're curious where one of these ranked. And let me know your thoughts in the comments, because sometimes there's a lot of different ways that items can be used in particular gear and combinations. I try to talk to the synergies of doing certain things a certain way, but let me know your thoughts. We got the Helmet of Arcane Acuity, which I think is possibly the best helmet in the game. It just opens up and makes some builds brokenly overpowered. Arcane Acuity with the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel is crazy. Fire Acuity Hat, same thing for spellcasters. Both of these giving you a +10 to your spell attack. Save DC is massive. They shouldn't have made it stack that high because that +10 is actually massive. +7 would have been more fair, but I think I like that as a +10. It makes them really good. Helm of Balduran, so many benefits to it, 4 different benefits. Pyroquickness Hat, great on sorcerers to be able to cast multiple spells. Headband of Intellect, or the Headband of Intellect, great for opening up a bunch of different build options with wizards. Helmet of Grit, bonus action, need I say any more? This could even be an A tier, +2 to spell save DC. It's pretty good, but yeah, we may even say A tier. And then finally, we got the Legendary Edition. This is obviously one that's only in the S tier because you use it, remove it, get the benefits from it, and it actually gives you a lot of different ways to play builds. Normally be around B tier-ish, but yeah, it's good. And the rest of the items here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I hope you have a great day.